Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Effectory HR Lab webinar series. It's a true pleasure to have you back. After a few months of, let's say, an extended summer break, I'm really happy to again start sharing the inspiring stories, the HR trends that our keynote speakers are sharing with us today. For today, we're going to be talking about employee listening with one of our winners of World Class Workplace, Icelandair. And it's a pleasure to invite them in a minute. In previous episodes, we've talked about different HR trends, things which are interesting in the HR business world, but also in the boardroom. Consider things like employee listening, employee engagement, experience, but also performance, rewards, benefits, team performance, working under pressure during the COVID times, purpose in work, all kinds of different stories that we love to share and which you can still look back at our Effectory YouTube channel and our Effectory recordings page. As you know, if you registered, you will receive the recording of this webinar as well, straight in your email right after the thing has been published. So always register and be updated from HR Lab by Effectory with your recordings and other interesting HR news. Good. For today, we're going to talk about employee listening. We actually chose a topic which I find, well, it lies close to heart, but also because I love traveling. And we talked to Icelandair, who won the World Class Workplace on a global level just before summer this year. And Icelandair was a growing airline. They have their base, not surprisingly, in Iceland. And before 2020, I think booking and boarding a flight was easier than getting a cup of coffee. The world was global. People were traveling around. And for Icelandair, things were going well. But while 2020 operations started off as a perfect year, I think the end you could better name as a perfect storm. Operations stopped, people maybe had to be laid off. And while the company was forced to take active measures, still their people remained loyal. They had a very highly engaged and loyal workforce. People were happy to work at Icelandair despite all the uncertainties. And for this episode, it's my pleasure to have invited Sveina, who's the Director of People Operations at Icelandair, and her colleague Auður. And we're going to be talking for the next 30 to 40 minutes about how Icelandair was able to capture the ideas, the needs, the comments, maybe the distress of their people to actually become a world-class workplace, to increase the level of employee experience, and of course, to understand what is it that we can do for you as an employer. So, Sveina, Auður, welcome to our Effectory HR Lab broadcast. Very happy that you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks. You know that, well, you've maybe seen our previous broadcasts as well. We are definitely going to dive deep into the different topics that we announced, but just as a quick start, maybe you could just briefly introduce yourself and share with the audience as well, what's your favorite Icelandic food?
Yeah, my name is Sveina. I'm the HR director and also occupational psychologist. What would I say? I think it's the traditional Christmas dish, smoked lamb. That's my favorite food.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you?
I think for myself, I would say the fresh blueberries and the black currants that you can find in our country in, let's say, late August, early September. More
so
like
it's
a
been
snack
a good
than
season for
food.
you.
Definitely.
So you're working together as leading the HR team. I think you've gone through quite a hectic and maybe chaotic time, but also a very beautiful time maybe in terms of relating and engaging with your people. Also looking at the scores for your employee engagement. I think we can talk about IR for the next hour or so. Let's start that off first. Okay, so, well, beautiful start, rocky finish, to be honest, but I think it's more on my end than on yours. So, guys, I think the beautiful images that we've seen, planes flying, people working across the airline and across the airports, very illustrative of all the commitment that people have towards your brand and your company. But what is it that you find unique for Icelandair? What is it that triggers your energy every morning? Why you want to wake up and go to work? Sveina, can you share a bit about that?
Well, I've been working for 4 years in Icelandair, and the first thing that I noticed, and I think is really unique, is the passion. We have employees in all these different roles, and they're all so passionate about the work.
And for you, Auður?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this video always gives me goosebumps, no matter how many times you watch it, I think. And it's a little bit similar to Sveina. It's how no matter where you are in the company, you always feel that people are committed towards this one goal and they all want to help each other get there. It's really this true team effort. I think that's what I would say for my part.
And well, for me, I think I shared with you before, Icelandair for me is a unique airline as well. I think you have a unique way of branding, but also the fact that your base is in Iceland with all the transits that you do there makes it a unique experience to fly with Icelandair usually. Is there anything that you see among your people? So you mentioned passion, the way people work towards the goals. Yeah, I think these are things beautifully driven by your culture. Is there a particular drive on this as well among your employees? Do you have particular HR pillars that you, or culture values that you want to adhere to? You guys still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. It was a little bit rocky on your side, Arjen.
Sveina,
we've lost Sveina.
There might be lost a bit to really motivate people to get their passion and their engagement.
Hi, Sveina.
Hi.
You're back.
I'm sorry,
well, maybe
Arjen,
we should just start the presentation.
Yeah, it was a little bit hard to hear a little bit. So I hope you
can see it now.
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect.
Fantastic. So thanks again for having us here today, Arjen. So we wanted to take you through a little bit, a few of the things perhaps that help us be a world-class workplace. And first of all, we wanted to, of course, start with the company background. So you've seen the video, but for a little bit more of a quick introduction, Icelandair is a leading airline offering flights to, from, via, and within Icelandair. And Icelandair, as you've mentioned, is indeed our hub and our home. So we make use of the geographical location that we have. We have a history that we are very proud of, dating back to more than 80 years. So every department of the company plays a really important role in providing the good quality service to our customers. And at Icelandair, we like to really emphasize the common purpose of our company, that we are all in the same team, this one strong team culture. And we think that this is a very strong foundation that we have, where our employees feel very connected, very involved and supported. And I think that's what has gotten us through all the decades of our operations, which haven't always been smooth, I think, in this airline industry, as you also touched upon in the beginning. Of course, lots of ups and downs, but we've always had our team right by our side. And before we continue on, we also wanted to share with you our corporate strategy pyramid. So the guiding light of the organization, as you had seen in the video, is that we really bring the spirit of Iceland to the world. And in doing so, we deliver smooth and enjoyable travel experiences. And I think having such a clear vision on the destination and where we are going to really helps mobilize all of our employees, wherever they're working in such different operations, to all be going to the same direction. And as you will see around the outlines of the triangle, let's say, our one team approach is really crystallized with our core values, which one of them Sveina mentioned before: passion, responsibility, and simplicity. And I think this provides a very strong foundation for the company culture that we have. And I also then wanted to also highlight the, let's say, our 5 strategic initiatives, where one of them, let's say, is maybe where Sveina and I focus the most, which is the culture of teamwork and high performance. And of course, one of the ways to really achieve this and to constantly improve is to listen to our employees and to hear what they have to say and work with the data coming out of, for example, the surveys that we do with them.
Yeah. Well, here you can see the focus areas of our people and culture strategy. Well, our strategy ensures an engaged culture and develops performance and behaviors that support long-term business goals. We have there first attracting and welcoming. We focus on professional selection and recruiting processes, and of course, smooth and enjoyable onboarding as well. Then we have the performance one, where we focus on clear business goals, well-defined responsibilities, accountability, and celebration of achievements. And like we mentioned before, there is this one team culture that is a core element of our strategy because we're all part of the same team. We focus on opportunities to grow. So we have high investment in training and culture that encourages to continuous growth. Then there's the healthy workplace. We focus a lot on health and well-being, safety as well. But we also look at, we want to build a healthy culture. So we have other policies regarding that as well. For example, policy against disruptive behavior, like bullying and harassment and so on. And then last, the compensation and benefits. We pay salaries that are competitive and we offer valuable benefits. And we have equal pay strategy in our company. This is our people and culture strategy. Just a little overview of that, but also, like I mentioned, we do have some other people policies, like Clear Minds at Work, which is a policy on an alcohol and drug-free workplace for all our employees. We have the anti-harassment and bullying policy, equality policy, and some others that we will mention later on.
I don't know, Arjen, if you have some questions coming in or if we should continue on.
Well, thanks very much for checking in. There's actually already popping questions. So I think people are eager to learn about your listening. So I think that's always a good thing. I think, but this is also related to your maybe strategy development or your strategic way of applying new cultural setup. So Jonathan is asking, COVID has taught us there are many ways to get the same result. So there's been a specific bottom-up innovation. Let me see. I tried to summarize. He's kind of lengthy. Have you applied a specific way of bottom-up innovation to involve your employees more in things like your strategic goals? So did you get your people, rather than thinking top-down, more on a bottom-up level, get your people involved on the development of your people strategy?
Yes, we did. And also in the strategy that Auður just showed us in the beginning, it was just shortly before COVID that we went through a big strategy work with all our employees. Yeah, so we worked it together.
Perfect. Cool. All right. No, well, I think, let's continue to the second part. I'm more than happy to listen to how you did this as well.
Yeah, well, we started using Effectory 2018. Before that, Icelandair had an annual survey, and the process around that survey was, I would say, maybe quite time-consuming. Took us a few weeks to get the results after the survey closed every time. And the survey was mainly run by the HR team. And at 2018, we wanted to change our strategy and how we listen to our employees. So we started looking for a tool. And what we were looking at, we wanted a tool where we could easily conduct more surveys on our own, where managers had their own dashboard, so they would own the results and work with the results. We wanted to put more focus on actions based on the results. And we wanted to be able to get the results more quickly than before. So this is what we're thinking about. And we explored a few options at that time. But then we went to a conference in Amsterdam, where we met Arne and Didrik from Effectory, and they introduced us to their tool. So we decided to try that, and we've been really happy with the results of using it. When we started the first year, we had an annual survey for the whole company, which we do and have done every year since then, in the beginning of the year. And then we have been developing how we use the tool. So the first year we only had the annual survey, but it was very nice experience because we got the results quickly. The managers got their results. They could use the action tool in Effectory. So this was a really nice experience and different from what we had before. And also what we have been really lucky with is that we have been able to get really good response rate. It was 80% in the first one, 2018, and up to 87% this year. So we know that the results really reflect our company. But then after that experience, we started to use the tool also for shorter pulse surveys conducted by leaders. So leaders could make their own survey. Normally they did that in the autumn, maybe September, October, November, where they maybe were checking on things that they saw in the beginning of the year in the annual survey that they had to work on, and they made some action plan, and then they were checking during the autumn how it was going. Then this year we added on, and now we also have a sort of pulse surveys every month that we send to a random sample of employees. And also started this year a cabin crew pulse survey that is in line with the union agreement, where we're looking especially at how the work organization is affecting well-being and how people are feeling. So we are having these 4 different types of surveys today. The pulse that I mentioned, what are we measuring there? That's just a really, really short survey with 3 to 5 questions, and it's only sent to randomly selected employees, about 15% of our employees. So this is more like we're taking the temperature. How is it going? We're always looking at communication, how well Icelandair communicates about important developments within the organization. We are checking the eNPS, or how likely employees are to recommend Icelandair to friends and family, and how employees experience cooperation between different departments. So we are looking at how is this developing, through different times. And then we can also add maybe 1 or 2 questions that are specific for this month or what's going on in our company. Here we can see the eNPS, how likely employees are to recommend Icelandair as a workplace to friends and family. I would say this is the score that maybe differs most between months. in our pulse, but the average is around 33.4. So that's really good. We're happy with that, and that's in accordance with our annual survey as well. It was around 35, I think, there as well.
And maybe interesting for the audience to hear as well is that then we share the results on our, let's say, internal communication platform or workplace.
Yeah.
So they also have the visibility.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So guys, there's actually a lot of questions popping in on this level. So I'm happy that you touched the button apparently where a lot of people feel on a practical level to get some further clarity in terms of, how do you employ or use the listening, but also what kind of questions you're using. So there's different questions. We're trying to moderate everything that comes in, but let me just briefly grasp on the first part. So one of the more practical questions is from people, how did your employees respond to this? So you've increased your listening from an event-based to a more continuous employee listening approach. How your managers adopted it, which I think is one of the nice benefits that is something to challenge them on as well. But maybe you can share also, how did your employees respond to this?
Yeah, we've mainly got really positive response. And as you can see in our annual survey, there's a really high response rate. So I think that's because people see that we're actually working with the results. We make an action plan and they see that we are listening and developing. And also, of course, we see that there are differences between departments. Some managers really use a lot the tool themselves while others are not doing it. But mainly positive response, I would say.
And what is the secret behind your high response rates?
I think the close communication with the managers has a lot to do with it, and then that we are empowering the managers and the managers take it on to their teams. I think that plays a big role.
Yeah. And we're actually on the refresh button the whole 2 weeks while it's open, and then we're calling, okay, your team is not good enough. You have to go and ask them to answer. So we really encourage everybody to answer, because this is the chance to.
And do you think that, how do you enable your managers to tell the story beyond the data? Because of course, I mean, there's data. I can imagine that this is important, but I mean, the ultimate goal to me seems that data is used in a way so that you can achieve your strategic goals. It's not about the data itself, right? It's also enabling your managers to reach your goals. How do you enable your managers?
Well, we just help them work with the results, and I think, like you said, we have data there, and that gives us some idea of what we need to work with. But then most teams have workshops that you follow through after the survey. So you ask why is this low? What can we do to change? And so we are just on the side there supporting our managers.
So HR is a facilitator.
Yeah. They own the results, and we want them to make an action plan, and we give them the tools and maybe support workshops. So we're more like a facilitators now.
And I would say that also the tool helps the managers a lot. And for example, the light bulb ideas, let's say, that often come up within your tool, this also supports the managers to come up with some solutions of how to maintain some good things and maybe improve on some others that can be better.
Well, good to hear that this is, recommendations are based on outcomes, so it's good that they are using it. Is there a certain way of adoption to your managers? Do you see that the more you started using this employee listening, the more they adopted it as a really useful tool for running their business?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So
and
they
nowadays
really
they are asking for, when can I do the next polls, or when do we run the next big one, more than us. So asking them to do it.
Yeah.
well, that's, I think, the best enablement that HR can make for your management right now, if you would ask me. Good. I know that you've presented a few areas where you focused on based on the outcomes of the survey. I'd love to dive into that. There are still a few questions, so I'm just going to pop up one more before we dive into that. So Nick is asking, particularly for the listening itself, what's your most important learning gathered from the feedback? So from having this new approach. So not necessarily the areas that you followed up in, but what did you learn about the process of employee listening itself?
Well, there are a lot of things, I think, but mainly I would say that it's so important to work with the results quickly, to be able to respond, not to have to wait for some results for 6 weeks, and then we start introducing it, and then maybe we're discussing having workshop with employees 8 to 10 weeks later. Sometimes we found that was irrelevant. So I think what we learned is the importance of this short time in between. Yeah, and of course to follow through and make an action plan and introduce and it's also very important to link it together, to discuss with employees, okay, why are we doing this? It's remember because of the survey. So that's the good thing also about the action tool in Effectory. You can open it up there and you can look at the goals, and you're always linking together, because of our score a few months ago.
And that encourages employees to speak up again, and even more to really say their opinion and their true opinion.
So the actionable follow-up actually creates appetite for follow-up action as well. So the big learning is timely follow-up, but also the actual follow-up itself is important.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Okay. Notwithstanding, let's see what are some of the outcomes, the focus areas that you brought in from your employee listening.
Yeah. Well, like we mentioned before, one of the big things that we've been focusing a lot on is health and well-being. And we do have a clear health and attendance policy that we launched, I think, 3 years ago, where we are focusing on our employees' well-being. And we are both have a clear policy around health and attendance, but also focusing on preventive actions. What can we do for our employees to support their well-being? So this has to do with safety, well-being, how we communicate when our employees are on a sickness leave. Then how can we support them? So it's the same for all our employees. Yeah, I think you can. We also have had some projects around the health and well-being. We have a dedicated health manager in our team, and some health ambassadors in different teams as well. They work through the whole company. And like you see, a few of the projects that we've been working on for the last year, cycle to work, mountain challenge. So there have been many challenges like that where people are going out and moving. And it was especially important during COVID when people were working at home, couldn't go out a lot. And one of the big things we did was this mountain challenge. Here you can see our employees. I think it was 14 mountains or something like that that we did go to. And we are actually doing it again this year because it was really popular. And was good fun during the COVID. And like you mentioned in the beginning, of course, COVID was a crisis for us and really difficult. Well, if you look at the summer 2019, Icelandair was flying around 350 flights per week, and that went down to 5 flights per week during COVID. So this, of course, changed all our operations, and we had to also think about our people. And we have both, of course, on-site workers who had to go to work every day in the operations, for example, in the hangar, the maintenance team, ground operations, and on board, of course. And there we had to really focus on how can we support this team, how can we make sure they're safe during COVID. And of course, a lot of people were experiencing anxiety around COVID, around going out, going to work. And then we had all these strict rules, at one time we could only be 5 people together, then 10 people together, 50 and so on. So we were always changing the setup of the work. And then the office workers, they started working remotely from home. That just happens in a week that everybody just went out of the office. And the main problems actually went really well. Amazing how fast everybody adopted to this reality. And the problems that came up were mainly around working environments. Some people needed laptops, monitors, and other equipment. So it didn't take long to react to that and help. At that time, we had some COVID pulse surveys as well to get insight into the feeling of our employees, how they were feeling during COVID, how it was affecting them. And also our management team were in frequent contact with employees, especially when people were working home. We encouraged them to have maybe just daily check-in meetings to see how people were doing, what could be done to support them and so on. So yeah, there were a lot of changes we had to go through during the COVID time. Flexible working at Icelandair, that's a new policy. Well, Icelandair has been a flexible workplace for a very long time. But then we, of course, got this experience like all other companies during COVID, that we started working more remotely. And from that learning, we made this policy, and we can see that a lot of our employees, they actually found that there was a lot of good things, that they maybe missed their co-workers and going to the workplace, but they also found that there were some good things about working remotely. People talked about the more work-life balance, and the flexibility could be good in some instances and so on. So now this is just official. It has nothing to do with COVID, just for our future. Then we want to offer and support our employees in working from other locations than their team's workspace. So all our teams have their workspace, but you can decide today, it suits me better to work from home, or I want to go to the coffee house or whatever. That suits the projects I'm working on every time. And this, of course, only applies to our employees who are working in an office or jobs that do not require you to show up at the workplace. We've done some surveys about remote work, and we see that we both did it in February, and that was actually there were some strict some restrictions at that time, so people had to be home. And then again in September, and in both of the surveys saw that most people want to work remotely 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days per week. So this is something that most people think they would like to keep on doing, but there are very few people who want to be remotely all the time, and very few people that want to come to the office every day. But the main reasons why people come to the office, that is to meet colleagues and the spirit of the community. And we found that when we were able to go back to the office again, a lot of people were just, there came a lot of people for the first days, just finally we could be together. And that's good. The main reasons why people decide to work remotely is saving time. You do not need to drive or walk or bicycle to work. It's efficiency and personal life, maybe to get this balance, teamwork and private life. We are now preparing to build headquarters. So this survey is a part of what we're looking at, because of course it's really hard to see now how many spaces do we need for our employees. If most people want to work remotely 1 to 3 days, is that something that we will be seeing? Is this going to change? So we will be monitoring it further as well.
And some other things that main focus areas that we wanted to highlight with you today is also, for example, one of our questions in the survey, which is about the communication and how satisfied our employees are with communication about important company news. And it's something that, thanks to some actions, has been increasing over the last few years. And we think first, let's say, one of the things is really that we have a very strong and coherent leadership team. We have a professional and thorough recruitment process that we follow, very detailed onboarding training, and a big focus on integrating them with the whole team from day one. And with our leadership team, we also have a weekly meeting, which includes management training, professional development, and then some strategy and airline industry trainings. And we use these meetings to also share information between each other that they can then take forwards to their team. And another thing is that our CEO, Boye, he has some very frequent posts and really started this during the COVID times. So almost weekly we hear from him from workplace, where he's reaching then to all the employees, wherever they're working, regarding some company changes or changes within our environment. And I think this has been very appreciated by everyone, and we see this thanks to the scores going up. And something that we are also continually trying to improve is our feedback culture. So we really believe that feedback is a key element to continue to develop this culture of teamwork and high performance, and it's something we've put a large focus on. So let's say managers have regular check-ins with their employees throughout the year, so at least 4 times per year, where let's say they get clarity on what's expected of them, what great work looks like, and how the individual, the employee, can do their best work. And we're also innovating and using technology to help us with our feedback culture. So we're setting up 2 new tools. One of them is for our cabin crew. So it's a performance app called My Motivation. And the other one is a platform for leaders to gain feedback on our strategy and how they are using it in their daily life from a 360-degree perspective. And lastly, we also want to highlight how important to us is the equality and non-discrimination policy, and that we really embrace diversity within our team, which only helps us reach our goals even better. So I think, we really involve all aspects such as education, experience, skills, attitudes to life, to really the greatest use to the company. And we don't allow any kinds of discrimination. And we wanted to share with you these 2 photos from our annual Pride flight, the last one, which was beginning of August, where we have, let's say, some special service on board and some treats, rainbows, in quite a festive mood to celebrate the whole range of diversity. that we have. So thank you very much for going through the slides with us. We have another video that we wanted to share with you, but maybe Arjen, you want to jump in before?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks, guys. I think first and foremost, thank you for sharing your stories, sharing about employee listening, the impact it had on your company, but also for you as an HR professional, of how you've been using these results, these insights to really optimize your own performance and your own way of taking initiative to I think optimize the employee experience for Icelandair. Based on what I saw now, there's so many different aspects that you took on coming out of the results of the survey, from your well-being, your diversity, remote and hybrid work, understanding better what people want in terms of flexibility and remote working, increasing but also optimizing your communication. So yeah, it's an amazing outcome of something which looks maybe simple at the start, but I think has a true impact and had a true impact for your HR function. There's a lot of interesting practical questions. What I would like to know really from you is, you are now already the global world-class workplace. What's next? Like, what is it that you're going to do next? What's your next big thing?
Well, like we said before, of course, COVID was a weird time and a crisis we went through. So we were actually very surprised and very happy when we got this award from Effectory. So now I think our main goal is to keep the score high. We are growing very fast, and sometimes the ramp up and the growing is more difficult. So it's going to be very important for us to keep on to the good work and just do better.
Mm-hmm.
So I was about... Sorry, go ahead, Auður.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that we have a big focus on our data-driven culture, and I think using your tool, Effectory, this really helps us. So we are really using the results of the survey, the data that we have, to improve and to make a difference.
And in terms of, let's say, next year, what's the biggest challenge that you expect for HR professionals next year?
In general?
Yeah. Well, I guess in the transformation that you're making, part of a data-driven culture and towards growth and ramping up, I can imagine that this is your priority list. But maybe also for the audience out there, the people that are now in the HR function or in a key decision-making position, what's the big people challenge that you see?
Yeah, I think the flexibility that we mentioned before is one thing. I mean, people are not always are not just going to work to some one place anymore. I think all companies are adapting to that new reality, and of course that asks for clear policies, strategy, and some other kind of leadership, different leadership. So that's a big thing. And I think the focus on data is also something that's going to be relevant for the whole HR sector.
Mm-hmm. And the focus on the health as well, that I think the audience has probably gathered is very important.
And mental health.
Yeah.
So health and well-being, you think, as a general topic? Yeah,
and I think mental health is going to be even bigger topic for the next years. Yeah.
So I mean, if I think about Iceland apart from the beautiful country, and I think about, of course, the things that make Iceland unique, one of the more people-driven or people-related topics is the 4-day work week that a lot of HR professionals are reading about. Huge experiments in Iceland with limiting our time of work to finding a better, I think, work-life balance. What's your view on this? Like, how would you feel? Does this impact Icelandair at all? Do you have some experience with this as well?
We do. There were some of the union agreements that were shortening of the work week, but it was only, I think, 45 minutes per week. Mm-hmm. It's just we haven't really seen the experience yet, but I know the public sector here in Iceland, they are getting much shorter week. I think it's about 3 hours per week. So yeah, what we hear, people are really appreciate it, and think it helps with work-life balance, of course.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that experiment. And if this can be implemented across the world, I think everybody in their work-life balance, at least, will have more time for their private, next to, of course, delivering on their work, which is necessary as well. So I'm excited to see the outcomes of these experiments. But first and foremost, I really want to thank you again for everything you shared during the presentation, the great list of really practical implementation of employee listening that you've done. And of course, the outcomes and the insights that you've provided on Icelandair of how you've approached employee listening and took these outcomes to heart and how you share them with employees as well. So yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot to you.
We're looking forward to welcoming you next year as a world-class workplace as well. And well, to all the people in the audience, first and foremost, if you want to join as a world-class workplace next year as well, then sign up to become a world-class workplace. You can do this on effectory.com, so feel free to reach out directly or via the website. But more important, start your employee listening. I think with the impact story that you've seen now, it's more important than ever to listen effectively to your employees. We're happy to help you set up, give you some guidance, coaching of how you could implement this as an organization. And of course, all my colleagues here in the office are happy to set you up for successful listening in the future. In the meantime, if you want to look back at this recording or any of the other recordings, you can visit our YouTube channel, and all of these will be listed also with all the previous speakers that we've had. And we're, of course, ramping up already for the next month's webinar, which will be, well, let's say around 4 weeks from now. And if you register for that, then you get a notification email or sign up on our LinkedIn event, and also share anything that you want to share with the community using the hashtag HRLab. Finally, I would like to challenge you this month to really consider how can I, within my role, within my organization, use this employee listening to optimize my employee experience. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts in next month's broadcast as well. And then we're going to close off with the small video that Icelandair wants to share as well about the outcomes and the well-being program that they've set up following the results of the survey. If you just want to stick around, have another 2 minutes of video, feel free. And otherwise, I'm just going to see you next month.
Bye.